explain.
You don't have to explain to me. You said you were ready for bed. I'm glad you ran into someone that you care enough for to take to bed with you.
Hello and welcome to the 11th entry of my film journal, where I record my experience watching your favorite movie. I'm Frankie, and today I'm going undercover with Down with Love. The first time I came across this movie was around May 2025 when a friend and I were loitering around town and just hanging out in some thrift stores where I noticed this DVD with Renee Zellweger and Ewan McGregor on the cover. I'd never heard of the movie, but since it was just €1, then I decided to give it a try, and I ended up being really surprised because it was very good, so I was confused. Why had I never heard of this movie before? So here I am. I want to yap about it, and that's what we're going to do today. Also, because I'm going to be saying the word sex a lot, then that's most likely what's going to be under the beep because of how YouTube works. Let's get into it. Down with Love is a 2003 romantic comedy that was directed by Peyton Reed. Reed has directed a number of movies, but to me, he is most known for Bring It On, and especially that one scene with Eliza Dushku, because I remember seeing that when I was like 7 years old, and I'm pretty sure it changed my brain chemistry somehow. So thank you, Mr. Reed. Thank you for your service. Anyway, let's get back to the actual topic. Down with Love is a movie that follows Barbara Novak, an aspiring author who moves to New York in order to market her upcoming book, which encourages women to deprioritize men and enjoy sex without commitment as a method to find success in their lives and careers. I feel like this character would be so popping on TikTok right now. Since the male publishing executives are not so enthralled by this book, her editor Vicky sets up an interview with Catcher Block, a successful magazine writer and notorious ladies' man. However, because Catcher keeps missing their meetings, she tells him off and refuses to continue with the interview. When Barbara's book pops off, Catcher realizes that she's not the spinster he thought she was and tries to meet her, but she's like, actually, you, and I'm telling the whole world that you suck on the Ed Sullivan Show. This obviously makes things a little difficult for Catcher when it comes to his many girlfriends. As a way to get back at Barbara, he comes up with a scheme with the help of his boss and best friend Peter, where he plays an astronaut with a southern accent named Major Sip Martin, in order to prove that Barbara doesn't actually believe in what she wrote in her book and only wants love and marriage. It was him this whole time. So how does this narrative compare to 60s bedroom comedies? I'll quickly go over 2 examples. Pillow Talk is a quintessential bedroom comedy from 1959 that stars Doris Day and Rock Hudson. This movie really sets the scene for what we recognize now as a bedroom comedy. In the story, Jan is an interior decorator who shares a phone line with a composer named Brad, who keeps the line busy talking to numerous women. Because she's unable to get her own phone line, the two cultivate a feud when Brad suggests that Jan's just salty because she has problems in the bedroom department. When Brad sees Jan at a bar one night and learns who she is, he pursues her using a made-up character. He becomes a wealthy Texan rancher called Rex Stetson. And of course he continues messing with Jan's head over the phone as himself. Does this sound a little familiar? Another movie that may or may not be relevant to this theme is and the Single Girl, that stars Natalie Wood and Tony Curtis. This one follows a tabloid magazine writer, Bob, who decides to go undercover as his neighbor to a session with Helen, a young psychologist who gained fame after writing a self-help book for single women on how to deal with men. Bob wants to get more information to prove that Helen doesn't have as much experience with men as she claims. Both of these movies have a B-plot involving the main character's friend or neighbor that makes the stakes of being found out as a phony higher. These movies are an interesting reflection of the time they were released. The 60s is known for numerous counterculture movements that challenged gender norms, as well as the sexual revolution, which happened thanks to the contraceptive pill. Changing attitudes also led to the softening of the Hays Code, which was Hollywood's self-imposed censorship system that lasted from 1930 to 1968. I feel like the tension about these changes really comes through in the scripts because there's an air of competitiveness in the characters' relationship when it comes to negotiating how they show up. And of course, there's a pattern of female characters updating their expectations for the men in their lives, as illustrated by this clip.
By level 3, she can have whenever she likes, without love, and enjoy it the way a man does. A la carte.
And where would we be without the pattern of men being conniving fools?
Yeah, but I'm trying to get her not to want to have with me. And these days, you've really got to play your cards right to get a girl to say no.
So, now that we know what framework 60s bedroom comedies were working with, how does Down with Love play with this genre? The most obvious thing to start with is the visual style of the movie. The aesthetics are hyper-stylized and bold, as Down with Love takes inspiration from Technicolor movies. Barbara and Catcher's apartments are inspired by the huge sets in older movies, and the filmmakers actually built a total of 55 sets for this movie. I also think that the costume department did an excellent job with creating the wardrobe. This outfit and hair is so cute. Barbara's matching outfits with Vicky are wonderful, and Catcher's suits also reminded me of what 60s movie stars would wear. In terms of visual style and editing, Down with Love features a split screen effect that you see used in Pillow Talk as well as other numerous bedroom comedies. That cinematography. The scene is filmed and edited so well that, yeah, I love it. And I also don't want to think about how many push-ups McGregor had to do for this shot, because I'm assuming it's a lot. I think we all agree. Speaking of remakes, my friend recently sent me, it was like a remake of The Sopranos, but Turkish. It was good. It was so good, it sometimes just plays in my head like a screensaver. Those intro credit, like title transitions. We already talked about how the narrative is similar to other movies in this niche, but what were the elements in the screenwriting that helped to connect these 60s romantic narratives to audiences in 2003? In a 20th anniversary interview by Mia Lee Vicino about Down with Love, Peyton Reed said this about the screenplay. It was genuinely funny. I laughed out loud multiple times reading the script, which is quite rare. I also felt it could be romantic, and it had a lot to say about everything, about gender and what's just changed and what hasn't changed between 1962 and, at the time we shot it, 2002. The script of this is so good, like the dialogue, because it's not just trying to be a bedroom comedy, but it's like, it's trying to do another thing extra. And it's succeeding. Early bedroom comedies usually depict women who are accomplished enough in their careers to be able to pay for their own living expenses. This level of financial freedom creates a different power dynamic between genders compared to romantic stories, which are built on an economic system that relies on traditional family values. While mainly only available for married women in the early 60s, the existence of the contraceptive pill also changed attitudes towards sex. In her book, Barbara even emphasizes that women should be able to enjoy sex without commitment, something that wasn't as feasible when reproduction is involved.
Those men are livid, B.N. You're a hit. You're bigger than the pill.
All this changes and or threatens the role of men in the relationship, and so we get a major plot point of these screenplays. The women need to be proven wrong through deceit, as God intended. Can women just be interested in sex like men? Do men only want to marry women who aren't interested in them? How do we talk about these spicier subjects on screen while technically the Hays Code is still in effect? Similarly to the earlier movies, Down with Love leans into using innuendo when discussing sex. There's always an underlying meaning behind what the characters say, which becomes apparent to the audience through how the story is staged. An easy example of this is the split screen scene, which I already mentioned earlier. Another fantastic scene happens early in the movie when Vicky is asked to make coffee for the whole boardroom while she is pitching Barbara's book.
This is empty.
Well, if you're making a fresh pot, I'll have a cup.
Count me in.
Likewise.
Ditto. None for me, Vicky.
Thanks, RJ.
I'll have a Sanka.
I would be so confused in this room. They all look the same.
As I was saying, the central thesis of Miss Novak's book, Down with Love, is that women will never be happy. until they become independent as individuals by achieving equal participation in the workforce.
I don't want to spoil the ending of Down with Love for people who haven't seen it, but I do think that the movie uses this type of humorous staging really well, not only when it comes to showing the gender dynamics of the time, but also the moral failings of the main characters. Vicina also wrote about the characters in 2024. Over the course of 1 hour and 42 minutes, it becomes clear that this twisted pair are made for each other. They're both ambitious, talented, seductive, stylish, intelligent, and above all, manipulative scammers. A match made in heaven and hell. Honestly, they're a perfect match because they're both terrible. I feel like Renee and Ewan had such an excellent grasp of these characters. Their performances show great understanding of the genre and bring a humorous and theatrical physicality without overpowering anything else that's happening in the scene. Zellweger's monologue at the end especially. It's great. She did a great job. Also the cut after to Ewan, nice. Barbara and Catcher really are so well written, performed, and staged, I think, because the filmmakers had a new perspective when looking at the movies that were popular in the 60s. When we watch movies at the time of their release, then we as audiences are maybe a little too intertwined with what we're seeing. Topics are fresh and perhaps still unraveling within our cultural narrative and in our own lives. But when watching these older bedroom comedies, it is impossible to ignore the themes that I apparently cannot shut up about. And those are the capitalism, whiteness, and heteronormativity of it all. These characters fit a specific demographic and so display a very distinct set of values. They're usually on the wealthier side, perhaps living in New York, and American as apple pie, if you get what I mean. And all of this really, it comes through in the dialogue.
Trouble with you is you're prejudiced against me because I'm part of a minority group. Millionaires. You outnumber us, but you'll never get us.
Another movie that I always think about in relation to characters explicitly voicing their capitalist values is another Doris Day movie, actually. This time co-starring Gary Grant, called A Touch of Mink.
How do you feel about the untapped natural resources of underdeveloped countries?
I think they ought to be tapped.
This movie really emphasizes the financial implications of the character's relationship. For example, when Day's character decides to call it quits with Grant's character, she returns all the clothes he bought her, and she also calculates how much he would have spent on her during their travels. And she actually sets up a monthly payment plan to reimburse him. This obviously grinds his gears and eventually makes him reevaluate his idea of her and her value in his life. A similar thing happens between Barbara and Catcher when she declines to collaborate with him after he found out that she doesn't look like whatever he thinks a spinster looks like. Performing straightness in a capitalist society involves a whole lot of subconscious math, it turns out. But this is exactly why Down with Love's B-plot, involving Barbara's editor Vicky, played by Sarah Paulson, and Catcher's best friend Peter, played by David Hyde Pierce, really tickles my brain cells. Since neither of them fit into the stereotype of what is expected from straight men and women, their relationship involves quite a bit of confusion before they're able to, come together. Can I say it like that? I sort of like that they're putting this guy into the spinster category because they could have totally done it to Vicky, but Vicky is a boss because Sarah Paulson is a boss.
The men who resent my success won't give me the time of day. And the men who respect my success won't give me the time of night.
I don't know about other men, but I swear, if I had the chance, I would respect you and resent you night and day and night.
Okay, I love Sarah Paulson, okay? I admit it. She's fantastic. Look at her. Hello. Did you hear that I was talking about Sarah Paulson? Also, the fact that both actors have since come out is, it's such a cherry on top of their plot line, I think. It just, it's great. More people should come out, I think. I thought you were gay, and I wanted to marry you. Honestly, yeah. These are my quick and semi-messy thoughts on why Down with Love really understood its assignment. I feel like the main thing we can learn from exploring these movies now, over 60 and 20 years after they came out, is perhaps that it's healthy for the individual not to take whatever stereotype of relationships is popular at a certain time too seriously. After all, even the people who are still the faces of the genre had their own personal experiences that wouldn't fit so well into our collective fairy tale narrative of romance. After I watched the movie, I did read a little bit about how it received mixed reviews from mostly male film critics upon its release. However, I'm honestly not surprised that it has gathered a cult following since then, because it's extremely well made. Could I yap more about how its original mixed reviews were probably because the culture was more conservative in the wake of 9/11, and this movie highlights the performative nature of gender roles? Definitely, but I'm not going to do that. Maybe in another video. Yes! Sarah Paulson never misses. I'm telling you guys. Hey you. Thanks for watching this whole video. If you like what I do, hit the subscribe button over here and let me know what movie I should watch next in the comments. YouTube thinks that you might enjoy this video next, but I also worked on the other one. I don't know what it is, but you'll find out if you click on it. I hope you have fun watching your next movie. Bye. Bye.